We're going here. Hello everybody, I'm back again today, and this is going to be a fairly short video because I'm a little pressed for time, but I've gotten this question a lot, and it's how do two-color prints work with the single extruder head that is on the MK2. And if you can see here, this is one of the test files that came on the SD card that comes with both the kit and the pre-assembled machines, and it's a bottle opener of some kind. I actually had the one, I've shown this before. I did this one before, but I did it with a single color, even though it's a two-color print. So I've never actually went through the process of changing the filament while the print is going on. So we're printing the base color with the kind of default orange we have. And I have a gray here, I'll get it out in a second, because hopefully I timed this okay. You can see it's doing one of the top layers here, and then before long it should prompt us to change the filament. And I've never actually went through that process, so we're gonna kind of learn together how exactly that works. I would imagine some of the guys that watch my streams have already done this, so again, as always, bear with me if I do something stupid. I see we have some people in chat already here. Hello guys. It always shocks me how fast some of you get in chat. I started streaming like a minute ago. So hello, good morning, good afternoon, wherever you are, whatever's more appropriate. This print looks okay so far. It looks like we have a little error here. I know you can't really see it on that little webcam, but it looks like there's a piece that should have bridged across the one area, and it didn't quite do that right. Let me turn focus. Let me get this camera focused. It's a little blurry. That looks a little bit better. That looks better. But yeah, like I said, it's gonna finish this top coat. I don't know how many top coats are on this. It looks like maybe 2 or 3. Not a whole lot, so it shouldn't be too long. But it'll make an obnoxious beep, which scared the living hell out of me the first time it happened. And then we'll try to change the filament to see how that works exactly. And like I said, it looks like a good print so far, except one of the outer shells that goes around this inner part seems to have like bridged across instead of like actually going up in the corner, but luckily this print doesn't really matter for anything except demonstration purposes. And I think it's only an hour print. If I'm not mistaken, this thing is on the SD card twice. One's at 200 microns and one's at 100 microns, and this is the 200 version. Joey in chat said that he printed this yesterday and it pops out the filament on its own, and he wasn't ready for that. Mine didn't actually do that. Maybe... yeah, mine didn't do that. So we'll have to, like I said, we'll learn together how exactly this works here. So hopefully there aren't any major issues, because I'm hoping this is a short video. Like I said, I'm kind of surprised I even got a little bit of time to do this, because I was a little pressed for time today. I had planned on streaming for a few hours like I do normally on Tuesday and Thursday, but it didn't quite work out for a number of reasons. But I think I'm going to have to break down and just get one of the dehydrators that some of you guys had linked for filament, because I think the desiccant packs and containers work okay for storage if your filament's already dry, but I don't know how well that's working if you already have filament that has taken up a little bit of moisture. I don't think they dry it out very fast. So I don't want to be popping these rolls in the oven all the time, so I'm probably going to end up getting a little dehydrator that I can just set here and run, because they don't use that much electricity. So yeah, you might be seeing one of those in the future. Someone asked if I've gotten a meter. I did order one on Amazon today, and hopefully it will be here today. We have a dehumidifier that runs most evenings, and it has a meter built in, but I don't think it's very accurate. It doesn't seem to register very well under about 50%. If that gives you an idea of like how damp our basement is, it is pretty damp. So it it could be a number of things. It could be that the humidity meter in that isn't very effective, or it could be that it just that dehumidifier struggles to get this basement below about 55% relative humidity, which is fairly damp if I'm not mistaken. So like I said, I might end up being like a case study in how to deal with moisture and filaments, which I guess will be helpful to some, because if I can overcome this problem, most of you guys should be able to overcome any problems you have, even if you live in like the rainforest or something. So we're coming along here. We're slowly beginning to see Joe Prusa's beautiful face. Hopefully, I don't think this. I know some colors of PLA that aren't transparent still end up being kind of transparent. Like this orange is relatively transparent. And when I was looking for a dark gray, I had seen in some of the reviews that apparently some of them are fairly transparent as well. And this one seems to be fairly opaque, so hopefully it's good enough for everybody to see kind of the... surely you'll be able to see it, but hopefully it's kind of bold. Because it doesn't look like it does too many layers. It looks like maybe 2, maybe 3 layers of color on top of the base here, for the relief of his face and the little Prusa letters and stuff. While we're sitting here, I guess I can catch people up that haven't watched me stream recently, but we've done a few minor upgrades. One was printing some of these little filament filters, which are pretty nice. I've actually made like 3 or 4 of them now. And they work really well. I like that it's 2-piece. It makes them easy to put on even after your print has started, because you don't have to feed the end of the filament through it. But the kind of latch thing that keeps them closed doesn't really keep it closed tight. And I kind of wish it would. I don't have anything on this one, but like last night when I was printing, I ended up taking I want to say a zip tie. Those little twist ties that come on like lunch bags and stuff. I ended up putting one of those around this diagonally to kind of hold it shut, because otherwise the filament can walk around instead of being kind of restrained in the hole in the middle, which I'm afraid of like maybe pinching and causing problems. See, there we go. We got our beep. Okay. So mine didn't pop the filament out. Yeah, mine actually did not eject the filament. So, because it's, you can hear it beeping, it's prompting me, you probably can't read that, no, it's really bright. It's saying insert filament and press button. So, I don't really know what we're supposed to do here. Any thoughts? No, see that didn't work right. It's moving the it's actually pulling this filament in, so I don't think we did it right. We'll go ahead and it gives us 3 options. It says change correctly. We have the option of yes, essentially no, and then I guess color not clear. I guess if it needs to extrude more to clear the previous color. So we're going to select the filament not loaded. And again, it's actually just pulling, it's just pulling this orange down in farther. So, kind of not sure if I should just rip this out. Again, it's asking us, it's prompting us. I'm checking the chat as always to make sure I'm not doing something stupid. But I don't think I'm doing anything wrong here. I just don't think it ejected the filament like it's supposed to. Because all it did was told us to insert the new filament. It never actually pushed this filament out. I was going to pull that out, but it actually has kind of a death grip on it. I don't think... There's no way to get out of the menu. I can move this camera, but the pain in the ass is I need to change the settings on it to actually be able to show you the LCD. Let me get it up here and I'll move it. Let me get it up, I said. Okay, and then let me adjust the gain on it. But there's the options we're given. And it kind of sucks because this is an hour print and we're about, I would say, 40 minutes into the print, so I can't really redo it. And it appears that if we select filament not loaded, it again is just pulling the orange farther in. So I suppose... I don't really know what I suppose. I guess, like I said, I guess we can pull this out. Maybe we'll just manually change this. But I don't believe this is the way it's supposed to work. So I don't think this is going to be a very good educational video on this process. Unfortunately. We're going to go ahead and just kind of manually remove that. And then just kind of finger tighten these screws again. Because I want to see a two-color print today, damn it. Okay, and that feels about how that was before. So we'll go ahead and change this roll. We're doing a manual two-color print there. And we'll put our gray in. And I imagine this will finish without any problems, but this is not, I don't think, the standard procedure. Unfortunately, I was hoping to show you how it's supposed to work, but it doesn't look like that's going to work out today. So maybe we'll have to redo this in the future. I can't find the end of the filament. There it is. And we'll trim this. There we go, and it pulled it in fine, but I think from what I've seen that the filament is supposed to eject on its own, and mine did not appear to do that for some reason. And we do have gray coming out, so I think our print's going to be okay. But like I said, I don't think this is a very good example of like how this process is supposed to work. Yeah, guys, I'm aware of like the filament and stuff. We're just trying to get through this video. Bear with me. And I think our color changed well enough, so we'll just go ahead and select yes. So we can move things along. And then get back to our print here. But yeah, you guys would understand if you've ever streamed things. It's a lot different. It's a very different atmosphere when you're just sitting in your house doing these things by yourself. It looks like we had a little bit of an extrusion error there. I must have had a little bit of excess hanging off the end, but it looks like we are going to have technically a two-color print here, so it won't be a complete failure. But at least I think you get the basic idea. Like I said, I don't know why it didn't eject the other color. I don't know if it's this print. I would imagine that could be an error in the G code. I don't know if anybody else has run into that problem with the 200 micron version. Maybe the other version's okay. Because I do remember this one prompting me to eject the other one. I think beyond all those problems we just had, it looks nice. We have a bit of a glob hanging off the side, but I think we can clean that up and it'll look fine. I don't know if you can see it on the camera there. It's kind of like over here. Kind of hanging off. But yeah, there's a two-color print. Success. But I unfortunately don't know how to do this in the files yet. I'll have to experiment. I think I forget which program it is. Oh, 3D Color Print is one of the programs that is provided with the little package of things that you get with these printers. And I would imagine you do it in that program. And from what I understand, you have to set layers where it'll prompt you for the color changes and stuff. But I guess I'll ask chat this. Are you able to use different types of filament for the different colors, or do you have to use filaments that have the same temperature properties and stuff? No, it worked. But yeah, maybe this evening I'll run this print again off stream and see if that happens just like it did. Because I know I didn't have the camera on the screen when it beeped for the color, but it just immediately told me to put the new color in, and the other color was still actually pulled down in the extruder. It looks like several people were saying that you have to use filaments with similar properties, which I understand. I understand why that would be. I'm kind of curious to see if the upcoming 4 material kit also has that requirement, or if it'll allow you to change the nozzle temp and stuff for different materials. I think if you can't change the nozzle temp, some of the infinite potential I was seeing might be a little more limited than I had expected. If you can just literally do different colors of like the same type of ABS or PLA that you're doing the rest of your print with, but there you see Joe Prusa's lovely little face in 2 colors. This is semi-transparent, I see. It looks like it only does a single layer of color. And there you see our little... again, that's just a minor oversight. That's not a big deal. Like I said, if you guys would do any of this stuff on camera, you'd understand how easy it is to have that stuff happen. But you can also kind of see here this little piece. I'll bend it so it's sticking up. That little piece there must have been a mis-extrusion or something. It's like it almost missed that step or something like that. But again, that stuff's easy to clean up. But I'll pop this off of here. Maybe I will. I cleaned my shop up, but it looks like I cleaned up too much. Oh, here it is. me move it here. But there you have it. There's a 2-color print, and it's still a nice print, even considering the little mishaps and stuff we had. This still looks nice. Again, I don't know how much. I don't know what I want to say here. I don't know how critical they are of the test prints they used, because I've had some minor issues with some of them. But like this one, I wouldn't be surprised if you go in there and there's actually just some minor like error in the G code that doesn't like make the machine prompt us correctly. But at any rate, there's a 2-color print. They are pretty handy because it lets you have like 3D style effects on what's ultimately a 2D file. But I could imagine making promotional items, keychains, shit like that is in like a base color, and then probably black or something would work better with a little more contrast. But no, there you have it. That's really all I wanted to do. I was hoping that would go a little bit smoother, but that was all I really wanted to do this stream, because I've gotten that question like a shocking number of times if I've done a 2-color print yet. I wish I could do another one real quick, but I don't have the time to sit here for 40 minutes until we get to that point again. But again, I'll consult chat here and ask anyone if they've had that problem before, or if it. I know I saw some people say that it already said that it kind of automatically popped their old filament out before it prompted them to put the new one in. So it could just be like a one-time error that we had there. Could just be one of those kind of freak occurrence kind of situations, but no, 2-color print. That definitely is a nicer end product than this, obviously, even though they're the exact same print. The added detail is pretty nice. And there our fan went away. But I'll ask too, because stuff kind of gets lost in chat sometimes, because I've had people link those filament dehydrators several times in chat. I don't know if that was any of you guys that are in here now, but could anybody link that again? And I'll actually put that in the description of this video. Probably end up buying one, and then we'll do a video on it in the future. And I know there are some cheap ones you can get from places like Walmart and stuff, but the tray situation internally doesn't really work out, because a lot of them have like fairly shallow trays that wouldn't fit filament without fairly heavy modification. But and then again, the question that I asked before, if anyone else has had the same problem with the filament not ejecting, because if that's happening to a lot of people, I think it's something that needs addressed. And if it's just happening like as a freak occurrence, I guess it's not that big of a deal. But there you have it. 2-color prints. Thanks for stopping by. Okay, we'll just leave a break there. I'll stay on here for a little while yet, but I just wanted to leave a break there. I'll go back and trim the rest of this part off of this video, so we can kind of like just hang out for a few minutes. But yeah, Joseph, I know. Again, things are very different when you're kind of like streaming and it's live. Especially with me, like I get flustered fast, or flustered easily. So yeah, I have done that before. You can just, like you were saying, you can just kind of like pull this back against the springs enough to leave a little space in there. But yeah, don't take anything I do too seriously. I get flustered. Let me catch up here. Like I said, does anybody have a link to those filament dehydrators? I found one when I Googled it, like, briefly, but they were really expensive. And I remember someone linking one before that I think was on Amazon. I'll try to find it here myself. But I think I'm going to have to get one of those. And maybe just let, like, before I'm going to print, let the filament sit in it for an hour or two. and just get in the habit of doing that on a regular basis. Let me shrink this window down here. Joe Prusa. I like Joe, but man, he looks like a hipster. With the hat and the glasses and the beard. He's got like the trifecta. But every time I've searched for okay, and then they came up immediately. Go figure. Well, I guess I'm sorry, those are just regular dehydrators. But yeah, when I type in filament dehydrator, I always get like filament and then dehydrators. Let me try filament dryer like someone just suggested. Because maybe it was just the print dry one. There's the company called Print Dry. I can go ahead and pop this up. There's this company, but when I looked at prices, they were kind of expensive. Let's actually just check what their prices are here quick. I guess that's not too bad. $100 isn't the worst. But that's certainly not cheap compared to what you can buy a regular dehydrator for. And I guess it does have kind of a... or maybe it doesn't. Does it have kind of like a spool system in the middle? It doesn't really look like it does. I don't want to be despooling or respooling filament. I know that. But yeah, I guess that's one of the only options really. Unless somebody knows of another one. Like I said, I think these are unfortunately one of the few in the market that's kind of like specially made for that. I guess I'll show this. Apparently you can get ones that feed the filament. I guess there is kind of like a spool in there or something that your roll can rotate on. We'll do some YouTubeception here again. But it does, I do see now, yeah, it does look like, okay. That kind of helps justify the $100 price tag a little bit more, I guess. Interesting. I guess only the bottom one has that. I guess you can use the top one while you're actually printing. So yeah, I guess I'll be getting one of those here in the near future. Aaron, who is this? Aaron, I'll check this one. Maybe this is the one that had been linked to me before. Yeah, this is a regular food dehydrator. Which, like I said, you can get some of these really cheap. Even not buying a new one. I've seen these at our Goodwill and stuff for like $10 or $15 before. And if you see these trays, they have those that grating in it. You could break that out. Like if you take 2 or 3 of these thin trays, I'd be willing to do that if it saves a bunch of money. But you could take 2 or 3 of those thin trays and just like cut all those that grating out, so you basically are just left with the ring. And I think I could get by with that. Yeah, I'll have to look around, but I want to order one of those in the next week, I think. But I don't think... I'm trying to think if there's a print I can show you that you might be able to see. But I've just been getting those little bubbles that I had mentioned before. Unfortunately, the prints that they're most obvious on are really small and they're hard to show. Oh, this is an old print. This doesn't have it. I didn't check this one. But you guys have probably run into this yourselves. I just get little tiny bubbles and imperfections, especially along the edges on the perimeter layers. And this one has a few, but this is actually okay. This has some on the bottom. I will try my best to get it to show, but I don't know how likely it is. But they're right here. There's like a group of like 5 or 6 of them, and I think it's where the layer's starting, because I had adjusted the extrusion multiplier like someone had suggested, and that seemed to help a little bit, but it didn't really make it go away. So I think it is I think it is moisture, a moisture problem. Though now that I look at it, maybe it's not that. This print I printed when the printer was new, so this is when the filament roll had just been unpackaged, and they actually both have that. Again, I don't know if you can see it, but you can see a tiny little bit of like imperfection there. So maybe I'm thinking it's something other than what it is. But you can kind of see them. You can kind of see them there. But they're actually on both prints, so maybe it's not moisture. Maybe it's some other issue that I need to adjust. But like I said, I've been really pressed for time lately, unfortunately, so I haven't had a whole lot of time to do investigation. But yeah, 2 color prints. At least we can kind of technically check that off the list of things to do. But I have a feeling I'll have to do this again. Maybe I'll find a different file. Maybe I'll find a print that's quicker, or finally take the plunge and make one myself to find out how the actual process works of like designating layers for colors and stuff, and queuing those change prompts in the G code. But yeah, has anyone else done any 2-color prints that are kind of cool files that aren't, this one was only an hour. I guess that's not too bad, but it'd be nice to have a like a Batman-esque print that's like 20 minutes or less that's a 2-color. They would be good for demonstration purposes, so we could maybe knock 2 or 3 of them out in a stream. That's what I said, Joey. It might be the case that some of the issues that I'm attributing to the moisture problem aren't really the moisture problem. Like I said, I'm kind of a noob. I'm not a dumb guy, but at the same time, like, I don't have enough experience to really like say any of these things definitively with any kind of like real confidence. I mean, if you come back in a year, that'll probably be a different situation, but a lot of people forget that I've only had this for 2 weeks. So there's still a ton of stuff for me to learn. Peter, is it this one? I've never actually started it up. Let's actually start this up. Oh, apparently this is a link. I clicked the 3D color print link that's on my desktop, and apparently it's a web link, not a program shortcut. But I guess you just use this kind of web service. Let's see if we can do one here real quick. I do have a few minutes. I have about 15 minutes here. Let me find this Batman file. Okay, so here's our 3D object. Do we need the G code? Yeah, we do need G code. Okay. Where's our Batman? Here's our Batman G code. So copy that to the desktop. And then, okay, let's do this, and we'll just find out what happens exactly. So here I'm dragging the Batman G code. And okay, so we just like, okay, I mean, this looks fairly simple. We just choose the layer. What time is it? I think we have time to do this. Let's do this. I'll preheat the machine. So we're going to preheat for PLA here. if I'm not mistaken, this will be the last layer. I'll go one back from the last. Okay, so if I'm not mistaken, that should be... I'll save this code here and get it on our SD card real quick. Okay, let's do this here. I'll try to be as fast as possible. And we'll start a laptop. Okay, so we have our file on here. So now we have a two-color Batman. I guess I'll just leave this filament in. Yeah, we'll just leave this in, just for the sake of brevity. And I'll clean my tip off. Okay, let's do this. And we'll just see what happens. Luckily, this is a fairly quick print. So this should print everything but the last two layers of that Batman file. Yes, Aaron. Yes, Aaron. I have gotten in the habit of not doing that when I'm not in a rush like this. But I was going to print the pin to collect protector, but it says that you should only do that in ABS. Has anyone actually printed that in PLA? Because I would print it in ABS if I had some, but I don't have any ABS, so... Also, there I didn't clean my bed this time, so some of you guys that say they don't clean it all the time. Hopefully we don't have adhesion problems. Now, see, this time it ejected the filament. Maybe I did. Did I do the wrong two layers? Did I do the first two? Where are my cutters? Oh, they're laying right here. Okay, that might not have fed in far enough. Okay, so yeah, I don't know why it didn't do all the probe positions. That is kind of odd now that you mention that. So our gray is definitely in there. Okay. So we selected yes, our change was a success. I don't know, it didn't do the normal it didn't probe all 9 locations, did it? I don't think it did. Luckily it seems to be like the Z height seems to be correct for the first layer, but yeah, that's kind of weird. I don't know, maybe I just missed it. But I don't know, it seems to be the correct height, so yeah. But as I thought, maybe I could be wrong. Maybe it did push it out for the print that we did, and it just didn't push it out completely, and all it would have taken was a little bit of pressure to get out. That could have been the case. But I'm gonna let this run. I gotta do a couple things here quick to get ready for 3 o'clock, but hopefully we get a correct color change on this one. So fingers crossed. And we'll turn the secondary camera on. Okay. It's one of the pains of having like I record stuff over here and then on the other corner of my basement, so I need to kind of like move things back and forth, which can be a pain sometimes. So that's what I'm doing now, if anybody's wondering. Okay, it says we're about 14% done. Who, I need to use Google Hangout? Joey, I would agree. That is very strange that it prompts us in the beginning. Like I said, maybe I selected the layers backwards. Maybe I selected the bottom 2 layers. But it still seems odd that it wouldn't assume I have the correct filament in to begin with. That seems kind of strange to me. But again, I have no experience with this, so it's hard to tell. No, I agree, Joey, and Joseph. We need to do a Google Hangout soon. Maybe we could even do that next week. Next week's going to be kind of a normal week where I only have Tuesday and Thursday. So maybe if you guys don't already have me on Facebook, go ahead and add me. Or like at least we could get in touch through like the Prusa group or something. Or send me a message through Google Plus, like anything. But if that would work for some of you guys, yeah, I'd be willing to do a Google Hangout. It'd be nice to actually talk to some people instead of like just me talking and having to read everything you guys say. But no, that would be fun. It's like Angus from Maker's Muse has been doing some hangouts, and I'm hoping that if I get my viewer count high enough, he'd have interest in having me on, because I'd like to participate in one of those one time. Aaron doesn't use Facebook. Oh my goodness. I envy you. I got sucked in a few years ago. I still have a MySpace page too. No, I agree. It would be informative, and it would be nice. Like I said, I'm the kind of guy who wants to be part of the community. I don't want to be like a figurehead, just like pontificating to everybody else about stuff. So anything that's collaborative is probably going to be better than something that's just like one dude talking about stuff. Especially when you consider that a lot of you guys know more than me about 3D printing. But yeah, I just assumed I'll bring it up here. Where was that? Let me just click the link again. Because we can look at the file that we used while we're doing this. So I came to this site that the link takes me to. Move it over here. I came to the site the link took us to. And you just drag the G-code, and I'll again bring the Batman G-code in here. And we're gonna add a color change. And I assumed this would be like your first layer, since we're doing 0.15 millimeter layer heights. Well, it should have been 2. This was the 200 micron file, so I don't know why it says that, but. Because I drug it up to the end, which is 2.7, and then went back 1. And I assumed that would have made I had assumed that was going to make the top 2 layers prompt us for a color change. So, like, say, give us... how was the G-code sliced? I don't know, Aaron. It was... I used the test file that was on the SD card, so... That website said it recognized it as someone's telling me to read the top of the page. What does it say? I don't see anything in particular. I guess this is what he's referencing, that a color print will not work correctly if your print settings contain hop or Z-lift, and I have no idea. I honestly have no idea if they do contain that, because like I said, these are the default kind of test files that came with the kit, so I know nothing about them actually. Aaron said, or Joseph said the new slicer will have triangular infill. That'll be cool. That's kind of an odd thing to have missing from a slicer. That seems like a really basic thing. Now open up slicer. So we're in slicer here, and we'll go ahead and open up the original. Oh, it actually doesn't. Oh, because it's a G code. I don't think you can actually. Unless I'm mistaken, I don't think you can import G code. Maybe I'm wrong. Somebody can correct me there if I'm wrong, but I don't think you can import G code into slicer. Okay, what is Z-hop exactly? Does that, like, skip layers? We'll check out this thing that somebody just linked. Oh, I see. This is, somebody linked, I guess this is like a more realistic kind of Batarang. This one looks like it'd be pointy as hell. Because it's contoured to the tips. But yeah, we'll have to print. We're barely going to have enough time for me to finish this today, so we'll have to save that for another day. But yeah, we can print some of those. Maybe I'll print some and do a video like throwing it at some stuff. Maybe we'll print a handful of them out, and I'll pretend I'm Batman for a little while. Okay, Z-hop is a retraction setting. I gotcha. Like was already suggested, some of this stuff would be a lot easier in a Hangout as opposed to like me trying to keep track of chat and stuff. Especially since there's like there aren't too many right now, but a lot of times there are multiple conversations going on, and I'm trying to make sense of several of them while I'm also doing something. Throw them at pumpkins. That would be appropriate. We actually, like, I garden. I know I've literally never talked about it on here, but we have a fairly large garden, and pumpkins are actually one of the few things that we don't grow. I could throw them at some zucchinis or cucumbers or some melons or something, but I don't have any pumpkins. But yeah, luckily this print makes pretty good time when it's doing the infill. Chris said I should print a Pinda protector. I was going to, and then it said that you should only print it in ABS. I don't know if that's because of like the heat. They're afraid it'll soften. Because that's why I asked if anyone else had printed it out of PLA. I don't really see why it would be an issue. What does it protect it from anyway? Is it like a heat thing? Because I know people have given me a hard time quite a few times about like preheating with the head too close to the bed. Which I wish there was just a setting that you could make. Like, whenever a print was done, if the head would just, like, center up in here in the machine, it would make things a lot easier than having to manually move it all the freaking time. Okay, so we're finally starting our top layer, so it should prompt us very soon. Oh, okay. Chris said the protector, if you have a print fail, it'll keep it from getting filament all over it. But okay, and I know I'll probably do this next week because it's driving me crazy. Is I'm going to do a video on modifying this push knob. I'm going to actually wire the push function to a button and mount it on the face here because I'm sick of... It doesn't happen a ton, but it happens enough to be irritating when you're trying to select something and you'll get like... It won't even click. Like you won't even get like enough of a rotation for it, to like feel the indents. And it'll change your selection just before you select it. And I've had enough of that already. But I'm going to do a video because it's not that hard to do. It's just if you look at the bottom of the switch, it has all these pinouts for the different functions and stuff for voltage going in and out. And all you have to do is like wire an actual like physical button to replace that push button function. Yeah, Aaron's saying that it's a firmware thing. It can be fixed with the encoder settings, but I'm just gonna wire a button. I don't want to have to mess with the firmware. Like, I don't have enough time to do everything that needs done. So it'll be easier, quicker and easier for me, and I'll feel better just having a button there. And I posted about this in the original Prusa forums, and there's apparently a bunch of other people that have already done this. So I'm not the only one that gets kind of irritated by it. But no, I agree. If you would just change it so it requires more rotation to register like an actual turn in the menu screen, that would probably fix the problem. But I've never liked these multifunction knobs. They sound great on paper, but then when you actually, like in the real world, they just... not my favorite. So we're gonna fix that. Especially since it's so easy to do. Like, I'm sure fixing the firmware probably isn't that hard to do, but... like, I would imagine it's just essentially, the current encoder settings are 2.2. Oh, do you mean, like, the number of things it needs to register for a click? Maybe we'll do both. Maybe the day we do that, I'll change the encoder settings and do the button, so the information's available for people to do whichever one they want to do. But I just know personally, I'd rather have a button separate. It would almost be nice to just like use this button, that little micro switch that's already there for the select thing. Because that does work well. I don't know why they... like, if you just centered the knob and you have a cancel down here and then, like, an accept up top, that would have been kind of nice. But, whatever. It's kind of a trivial thing, I guess, ultimately. 5 to 6 weeks. I haven't looked in a while because somebody asked me what the delay time was for shipping. But is it up to like 5 to 6 weeks? That kind of sucks. I kind of got in at like exactly the right time almost. There was almost no delay on my printer being shipped. But I think that was right after Tom Salanderer, if I'm saying that right, did his review, and I think he was one of the main reasons they got so slammed with orders. He was one of the first big YouTubers to put out like a glowing review. But yeah, I got in right before the rush. Now, hopefully, if all goes well with hopefully if all goes well in my life with money and stuff, I'll probably be ordering another printer. I would guess maybe at the beginning of the year, maybe February. Something like that would be really nice. I'd like to have 2 of these sitting and printing 24/7 instead of just one. It would especially, like one of the main reasons I'd like to have 2 machines is that I could have one. basically in an airtight enclosure for printing ABS stuff, and then have like the second one in also have it in an enclosure, but more or less just for a little bit of filtration, because the ABS, not ABS, the PLA fumes bother my eyes and stuff a little bit. Like, my eyes are starting to get dry already here sitting beside this. But hopefully it's going to prompt us here in a minute. Looks like we're almost ready. I gotta text someone here real quick. Alright, and I gotta go unlock my door. I'll be right back. Hopefully it'll prompt us here in a minute. Yeah, this should be the final top layer, hopefully. Hopefully. I hope, yeah. I don't know why it already prompted us for a color change. That seems odd. It's gonna kind of suck if this just finishes the rest of the way. Because if it doesn't prompt us after this layer, I think it's not going to. Because we're already like 85% done, 86. But I guess we're going to find out here in a minute. As you can see, it's almost done with this layer. So hopefully we get an obnoxious beep here. Like right about now? Yeah, here we go. Okay, so it looks like it's working. And it backed it out this time. I don't think it backed it out the whole way, but it pulled it out of the tip. So that's a good start. The continuous beeps are kind of annoying. It's like, yes, we get it. We get it. I get it. This is going to be an ugly Batarang, by the way. Let me cut this. And hopefully all is well. Huzzah! Yeah, this is going to be ugly. This is going to be gray with a orange top layer. And on top of it, the orange is kind of transparent, so it's not going to be very bold. Okay, so we have no drips. We have a tiny drip. Why does it do that? That's stupid. After we select yes, it squirts out like another inch. What the fudge? So now we've got a little orange spot. I don't know what it's doing here. Okay, machine. I'm gonna see if I can scrape that off. We have just like a little orange blob there. Yeah, that's gonna be ugly. I don't know what the hell it did. Wow, see, I'm not. I can tell already. I'm not a fan of two-color prints. Why does it squirt out a little bit more right before it goes to resume the job? It looks like it's going correctly now, but I'll show you after this is done. It put like a little blob right on one of Batman's ears. Like, what the hell is it doing? I'm not a fan. Yeah, I don't know if like how many did I select? I only put a single color change in. And now it's kind of acting like we have a jam. Yeah, I don't know what's going on here. This is not quite the triumphant success everybody was cheering for when we got the beep. And again, right before it goes back to start the job, it squirts out about another inch and a half of filament, a couple millimeters of filament. Yeah. We're gonna call this a day. There we go. Failed print. Sorry guys. I don't know if it's, I guess it's our file. But yeah, this is not how that's supposed to work. So, boo! Boo this man and his failed print. This is... It's not the worst looking failure the world has ever seen. Now our filament was correctly in the filament tube and everything, or the Teflon tube. But that's what we have. You can see it kind of like, here's this, let me make this bigger. You can kind of see, here is the blob I was talking about, where it went back and just kind of put a blob of orange filament there. And then it looks like after every perimeter, it was asking for a filament change. So it might be the case that that's what I said. It's not the worst looking failed print ever. That actually does kind of look cool in a way. But no, that's kind of an anticlimactic end that we're going to have to leave on here. But yeah, that's kind of disappointing. Well, I'm kind of thinking we're just going to redo this video. This video kind of sucks. I don't think anybody learned anything today. I guess I did a little bit. But yeah, I guess this is part and parcel for 3D printing. We kind of learned something, I suppose. At the very least, I learned what my 3D color print link takes me to. But, no, womp womp. We'll have to try this another day. I don't know, is there a way to remove Z-hops? I guess I can go in if I get this, this is probably a file in Thingiverse, or maybe we'll use the sharp one. The sharp one might look cool, especially if it bevels up into the orange. Maybe that'd be something nifty. But we'll have to try reslicing the file next time to make sure there's none of the Z-hop stuff. And again, do this when I have a little bit more time. Unfortunately, I'm like a little bit past out of time here. I'm about 10 minutes over. So I don't know what we'll do with this video. I might just leave it up as it is. It's kind of a I don't know. I don't know the right word. Kind of a disappointment, but it is what it is. I guess it's part of learning, so maybe I should leave it up so people don't get discouraged when they find themselves in these situations. It always takes the sting out of things when you see somebody else like going through the same frustrations that you did. So maybe we will just leave it up, and I'll put caution. Don't do what you see here. But yeah, we'll have to try another file next time. Maybe I'll make an effort to find a cool. Maybe we'll even do another Batman related file. But we'll find a different one. We'll pull it into the slicer and make sure it's okay, and we'll give it another go. Because I think the basic concept works fine. Since you just like, it'll finish a layer, you put new filament in, it starts up again. Really no big deal, but no, thanks to everybody that stopped by. I wish I could have been a little more informative. I wish we could have had like a triumphant ugly Batman at the end, instead of like a half-ass failed ugly Batman at the end. But we'll have our moment of triumph another day. But thanks everybody. Let me just catch up on chat, make sure I'm not missing anything important. Yeah, Joey said, Joey's message was essentially, I told you so, duly noted. Printed in carbon. I would. If I had some carbon, I'd be printing all kinds of stuff. When I was younger, I used to make my own ninja stars out of utility blades. If you take 2-part epoxy and glue a couple of them at different angles, they make pretty sweet throwing stars. I almost got myself in trouble one time. I was at a place that I won't say where that you shouldn't have weapons, and I accidentally had one of those throwing stars I had made in my cargo shorts, and I was kind of doing something. I felt it poke me, and I was like, oh shit. But no, I'm all up for improvised weapons and stuff. I've got some stuff I need to show you guys sometimes, as far as improvised weapons go. But yeah, we need a little firmer material than PLA for some of that stuff. Yeah, like I said, if some of you guys want to do a Google Hangout, get a hold of me. I do have Nillabean on Twitter. It's at Dick on RNA. I know that's a weird one, but if you get in touch with me in any way, we can kind of like touch base and get something going. But I'd be willing to do a Google Hangout like next week if anybody's interested. We won't get a ton of people. We'll try to keep it at like maybe 5 tops, because many more than that, it gets a little too chaotic. But yeah, someday maybe we'll shoot for like next Thursday for a Google Hangout. That way I can do kind of like a normal. Plan on doing this Tuesday. We'll do that. So plan on Tuesday. We'll do a couple hours of doing 2-color prints. Do some experimenting with that. Maybe I'll try to even get a file where we like pancake a layer of color in 2 other colors. That might be kind of cool. Like maybe if we do one of these Batmans with orange, some gray in the middle, and then orange on top, and see like how much we can push it. But we'll plan on that. Tuesday we'll do some more two-color printing. And Thursday we'll try to get a Google Hangout set up. And then, as always, the weekend's kind of a crapshoot. I might pop on here for a little bit. I might not. It kind of depends on what's going on. But, yeah, thanks everybody for stopping by. If you haven't subbed, I know this isn't the best video to try to get subs off of, but if you're at all entertained or interested or want to see like what we end up doing with two-color prints, go ahead and sub. I appreciate it. But thanks everybody. But I really have to run, so I'll see you guys next time. Thanks.